Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a part of our community, head on over to missionmatters.com/community to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We're bringing on Elizabeth Bruner, who's founder and CEO over at Stereotype Kids. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. It's great to be here.
All right, Elizabeth. So excited to get into today's topic. So I'm and to do a deep dive into Stereotype Kids and really how you came up with the concept, making gender inclusive clothing for kids, and also you're made in San Francisco. So I want to go into this and the story and how this company came about and your vision and plans for the future. But before we do all that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Elizabeth, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Elizabeth, what mission matters to you?
That's a great question. So, Stereotype is a mission-based company, and what matters to us is we are advocating for individuality for kids and for adults, but we focus on kids and creating a self-expression with no boundaries.
It's a great mission, and one that we're happy to support and bring to our audience here today. That theme of no boundaries, I think it's great. And I think before we go into the company, I'm just curious to my end, how did you get started as an entrepreneur? Is this did you come from family entrepreneurs? Like how'd that all come about?
Yeah, no, I'm not my family is not in entrepreneurship, but I actually call myself an accidental entrepreneur because I had no intention of starting a business, especially
Is that what you call yourself?
An accidental entrepreneur.
I didn't.
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't know this, Elizabeth, and for all my audience, this is not a shameless plug, but the people that have been listening to me for a long time know. So, Elizabeth, I just came out with a book called Driven, and in that book, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur, and I have a co-author who's a serial entrepreneur. And I'm like, I never planned to be an entrepreneur, so we're twins.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just had to tell you because I was like, you're not going to believe it. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Well, I really had no intention of starting a business. That's definitely true. So I had a business before this one called Piece by Piece, which is also fashion based. I'm a designer by trade. But with Stereotype, really what inspired me to start the business was my kids. So I have twins, a boy and a girl, and they started sharing clothing at a very young age. My daughter would dig into my son's clothes, and my son would dig into my daughter's clothes, and they naturally were just drawn to each other's clothing. And that inspired me because they were mixing and matching their looks. So my son would wear a sparkle skirt and a dinosaur top, and my daughter would wear, camo shirt and, her own unique look, jeans, leggings, whatever they were. So they just started mixing clothing together. And that really was the idea that's planted the seed of me starting Stereotype, because when they were so young, it's so cute to see them being so creative. And it wasn't until really they started school and were experiencing different reactions outside of our home that I realized, this is actually a problem I need to solve. And so I was inspired to start Stereotype based off of the experiences that they were having outside of our home.
That's amazing. And I feel like a lot of us as kids with expression, when we don't know, we're not really taught those things until somebody external tells us, right? Like, what's the difference between a pink shirt or a blue shirt or things like that? And it's kind of the pressures that society put on us, right? Like, nobody as a kid, you're born, you're growing up, and you're like, I can't wear that. Like somebody told you that, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. We're deeply conditioned, all of us are, to, fall into a certain category, and you can't go beyond those parameters. And that's really not fair to a child who just innately loves what they love. And so for me, watching my son twirling around in a dress and just being super, happy and full of joy, that was enough for me to say, well, why would I take that away from him? Or seeing my daughter dressed in head to toe black. She loves to wear all black. and she likes to wear her baseball cap backwards. And that's just innately what she enjoys, not all the time, but, in those moments where she's, diving into a more masculine look, that's what she loves. And so I don't want to change that. Why would I? I want to support the whole child before me. And that was actually a lot of self-reflection that happened over the years before I officially started Stereotype. But yeah, it's true. We are deeply conditioned by society, by our family, religion. There's a whole list of ways that we are told you cannot go beyond a boundary, which is really why I created Stereotype. So it's, self-expression knows no boundaries, and it really shouldn't. And that goes for all, not just kids.
I totally agree with this. And what kind of response have you gotten? Whether I know you said you're a designer by trade, whether it's the design community or parents or otherwise, like what kind of response have you gotten since launching?
I've gotten really great response, actually. It's all been, not all of it has been totally positive. I mean, if I look at social media, there's some people that, of course, are going to be rubbed the wrong way by saying I create gender-free clothing. And I think it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people to think that they should move beyond a boundary or support their child beyond a boundary. And that's okay. That's part of, self-reflection, and it has a lot to do with fear. So for me, it was really just lifting a veil. Like, this boundary doesn't really exist. This box doesn't exist. And for my kids, they really showed me that through the way they were choosing to dress and how they were expressing themselves through that. So it became just a seed that planted and just completely bloomed into Stereotype now.
And am I correct in, do you do, and I was just looking at your Instagram earlier, and so do you do a lot of podcasting? Do you have a podcast as well yourself, or did I read that wrong?
I do not have a podcast. I have been fortunate enough to be interviewed on many podcasts, but not yet.
That's what I'm saying. No, because I'm just asking like that. No, because I saw a bunch of different posts, and I've looked at your Instagram, and I definitely, anybody that's watching this, if you want to definitely get a feel for like the clothing, everything else. I mean, of course, you can go to the website stereotypekids.com, but also their Instagram's great. So Stereotype Kids Official. You can see that there, and you can get a feel for the clothing and other things like that. So that it's pretty cool. So definitely have to give you a shout out there. And you can just, and also the quality of the clothes, like you can just see it. Like, maybe talk to us a little bit about the clothes and your concept from a designer's point of view.
Yeah, thank you. So the clothes are designed gender free, and what that means is that they're unisex, basically. They're made for boys and girls. And the way I design the clothes is really around play and also around what I coined blended fashion, which is a mix of boy and girl elements. So there's some sparkle, there's a lot of black. My daughter, like I said, she loves black. My son loves sparkle, so those elements are there for them. And they're really sophisticated clothing for kids, but also really durable, made very well. I make everything in San Francisco, so there's a really small eco footprint. I use eco-friendly materials. So the clothing is really a representation of my vision of what I said is blended fashion, a mix of boy and girl. And the way I like to also talk about that is that boy and girl clothing, they're equal in value. They're boy and girl. So it's blended fashion, and I just like to say that because it shouldn't be defined by anyone. It's really just an authentic way to express yourself.
Wonderful. I like that. And I know it's only kids' clothing, but I was looking at that camo button-down zip shirt, and I'm like, I like that print with the camo, the pink, and then the boom box in it or stereo in the camo print. I'm like, how do I get one of those?
I hear it a lot.
We might need a custom order over here. I'm just saying,
Yeah. I hear you. I actually hear quite a bit from adults saying, when are you coming out with the adult line, because the blazer in and of itself is such a great piece, and it's made from sweatshirt material. So it's basically an elevated sweatshirt hoodie, but it looks like this really beautiful blazer, and it's made really well. You can wash it, throw it in the dryer. So I really design my clothing to be durable and to just be worn for many, many years.
Tell me about the plans for the future. Like, tell me about your plans for the company and what's next.
Well, the plans for the future are wide open. I mean, I would really love to do collaborations, but my big vision really is to start a nonprofit that supports underserved youth. So my bigger vision, my overall vision is really to make money to give it away. And that's been something that I've always wanted to do, even with my first company, is how to leverage the money that's coming in to help other people. And so, it's a really big mission. It is really around breaking rules, challenging societal norms, and empowering children to embrace their unique style and express themselves fully. And beyond that, it's also how can I create a brand that really supports all kids, the whole child, and also helps adults as well. So I'm really looking at building a community on my website. I, like to answer questions from parents about gender-free fashion, about twins, about conscious parenting. So there's quite a bit of information on my website, and I have a huge goal of just really starting that nonprofit to help kids.
That's wonderful. It's a great idea. It's a great mission. We definitely need mission-based entrepreneurs like yourself out there making a difference and really challenging the norms of what, and pushing the conversation, not just in fashion, but just overall so that we can all connect better. So love what you're doing. I think this is awesome. Elizabeth, I know I mentioned it before, but let's definitely do it again because maybe some people were driving or they're like, what was that website or how do I follow this stuff? I want to check it out more, especially anybody that has kids out there. Check this out. You're gonna be impressed. Like this is super quality clothing, and it's just really cool. I see the blazer now. I didn't catch it the last time I looked. Now I just went back and I'm like, yeah, I want one of those too. I didn't see that one. Now I see it. I'm like, oh, come on. All right. So, Elizabeth, if somebody's listening to this and they want to follow up, they want to learn more, they want to shop and follow the journey and connect in this community, how do they do it?
Yes. Thank you so much. So it's stereotypekids.com. You can visit me there, or you can go on Instagram and it's Stereotype Kids Official, and you can find us there as well.
Fantastic, and we'll definitely put all the links to the social media, to the website, all that good stuff in the show notes, so that our audience can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging in an episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission. What gets them fired up in the morning, gets them wanting to go out into the marketplace and be an entrepreneur, which always isn't easy, but to make a difference. I mean, ultimately, that's the goal, is how do we make a difference and have true impact in the world? If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Elizabeth, really, it has been a pleasure having you come on the show. Thank you so much for introducing my audience and myself as well to Stereotype. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.